All set, I think, right?
Yep.
You good?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. If you could take your seats, please. We will get started. Welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidates Night. As many of you know, Candidates Night is part of our ongoing voter education efforts. The League is once again pleased to be providing this annual opportunity to hear from our friends and neighbors, longtime residents and newcomers, current elected officials, and first-time candidates who are interested and willing to dedicate their time to serve our communities. How about a round of applause for all of them? Yay. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government. Why do we do that? We do it in order to strengthen government and make democracy work, and we've been doing it for 96 years. Locally, we've had a lot going on this year. Some of the folks in this very room were at our Civics Bee a few weeks back, which is part of our civics engagement initiative to get the students in the schools to have fun with civics. It was a wonderful evening with lots of wonderful questions for them to answer. And we also this year produced a video with interviews of some of the very people in this room who have run for public office, served in public office, on why they've run and what the challenges were and what the rewards were. And we also produced a written brochure. So we're going to continue to work to get more and more people active and involved in our local government. So thank you all for your participation. Tonight, you'll be able to learn about the candidates in order to be an informed voter, not once, but actually twice, at town meeting on Saturday, April 2nd, and at town elections on Thursday, April 7th. Both towns have those events on the very same days. The presidential primaries in both of our towns had over 50% turnout, so let's do it even better for town meeting and for local elections. So please remind your family and friends to get out and vote. And I have to remind everyone that one way you can get involved in your local government is to join the League. It's a great way to learn the issues, work with people of like mind and interest, and work on voter education activities and forums to advance positive change, not just at the local level, but at state and national levels as well. If you have any questions, you can visit our website at any time, and effective this year, you can like us on Facebook. So some of us are having to learn what Facebook is. You can contact me via the website or see any of us at the end of this event. Also want to remind you that there is a Wenham warrant hearing on March 28th at 7 p.m. in this very room. So please put that on your calendar. We want to thank Bill Melville and his students for broadcasting this evening, and it will be available for replay on the cable station over the next several weeks. Thank you. I would thank the Model UN students, but it looks like we had a little miscommunication, and they're not in attendance, but they have always been great champions of this night, so we'll thank them anyways. Tonight we have a different format than we've had in the past. We have a guest moderator tonight that many of you will recognize. Jeff Stinson is a senior attorney and owner at Stinson Law in Beverly. He began his legal career in politics as an advisor to many state and local elected officials, including Representative Brad Hill and State Senator Bruce Tarr. He has served as campaign advisor on many local and national races, including serving as political director for Richard Tassay in his bid for U.S. Congress in 2012. Mr. Stinson served on the Board of Selectmen in Hamilton from 2010 to 2013. He's sat at this very table, and later served on the town's Finance and Advisory Committee from 2013 and 14. I'd like to welcome Jeff Stinson.
Thank you, everyone. It's good to be back. If you're just tuning in, and this is not a 2011 joint meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Board of Selectmen. This is Candidates Night. Pleased to be here, and I figured we'll just get started. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to getting rolling. I did want to mention Gradle mentioned this, I know Corinne mentioned it. This will be replaying throughout the coming weeks for folks to, review this program. So if you're watching at home or you're here now, tell your neighbors to, tune in and watch. It's also available on demand, so you can actually go to hwcam.org and watch it anytime. I think 15 minutes, I think Bill was saying, after this broadcast it'll be available, so please do that. We'll start this evening with the uncontested races. We'll begin with this year with the uncontested races in Wenham, the Board of Selectmen, Cemetery Commissioner, Moderator, Planning Board, Water Commissioner, and Housing Authority. And then we'll move to the uncontested races in Hamilton, which will include the Moderator, Board of Assessors, Planning Board, Housing Authority, and the Hamilton Wenham Board of Trustees. And then we will end with uncontested portions and for the Hamilton Wenham Library Trustees. Actually, we're going to link that into the uncontested portions, I think, of the Hamilton folks. Then we'll move to each uncontested candidate will be asked to give a 2-minute introductory statement and then briefly tell why they chose to run. Then we'll move to the contested races in Wenham, which is the Board of Assessors is the only one, and then the Board of Selectmen in Hamilton is the only other, is the only Hamilton contested race, and then School Committee is also a contested race. We'll adhere to strict timing. Thank you to our substitute timekeepers here who will be filling in, Nancy and Daisha. All responses will be limited to 2 minutes. And it says these bright students in the front row will advise me, but I guess these bright students in the front row will advise me. All contested candidates will be given the opportunity to also make a 2-minute introductory statement, answer the questions that I have here, answer any written questions we may have from the audience, and also make a 1-minute closing statement. And again, all of the answers are limited to 2 minutes. And I do have a note here, written questions will be accepted from the audience. If you would like to submit a question, you may obtain an index card. Is this still the case? Okay, up there, and pen from one of our non-Model UN students, from someone else who will be, from Gradle, who will kindly accept those questions for you. So Gradle does have a pen. Feel free to see her, and once you have written your question, submit that to her, and she'll get it over to Corinne, and I'm sure we will try to ask it. So with that said, we will start with the uncontested races in Wenham. Gary Cheeseman is running for a 2-year term on the Cemetery Commission. Harriet Davis is running for a 3-year term, also on the Cemetery Commission. Trudy Reed is running for Moderator. Welcome back, Trudy. And then Minnow Fry will be running for Planning Board, Ernest Ashley for Water Commission, and finally Suzanne Thomas for Wenham Housing Authority. Andrew Ting, who is running for the Board of Health, Winslow Murray running for the Tree Warden, and Jack Wilhelm running for Selectman. All incumbents are unable to be with us this evening, but they did send their regrets to the league. So if we can have each of those folks come up who are here, we will start with your 2 minutes.
Do you have your name tents?
Fantastic.
Oh, I forgot my card.
So we'll start with Mr. Ashley, who's directly to my right, to give his opening 2 minutes. Mr. Ashley is running for Water Commission.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Ernest Ashley. I am running for a third 3-year term as your Water Commissioner. My qualifications is I'm a professional hydrogeologist and a licensed site professional. I'm working in environmental cleanup for legacy sites. I also work for Camp Dresser and McKee, which is a water and wastewater firm. So I have resources that back me up in that. Wenham water is safe, that we do put the chemical in it to avoid corrosion that was missing in the Flint water problem. It's called zinc orthophosphate. We also put chlorine and low levels of fluoride in that water. And then a while ago, we installed a loop which allows us to have more time before the water goes out into the system and therefore can have less of this chemical. The challenges that we will face in the next few years are that we have groundwater from the Ipswich River Basin, and that is one of the most stressed basins in the state. And so we will be under continued pressure from the Department of Environmental Protection to limit the amount of water that we are allowed to withdraw. So we will have continued water restrictions in the future, which are imposed by that department. And in general, we have plenty of capacity, but where we exceed that capacity is occasionally excessive irrigation in the summer. So I look forward to serving on your Water Commission for another 3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashley. Trudy Reed.
Hi, I've been a resident of Wenham for 23 years. I got involved with town government when I first attended my town meeting back in 1994. A neighbor had asked if I'd be interested in working elections. Over the next decade, I worked various elections ranging from town meetings, town elections, to presidential elections. In 2006, I became the director of the Wenham Council on Aging and Van Service, where I worked for 6 years. This allowed me to be close to my family and my children while they were in school, and I continued to work elections, getting more involved and learning from Fran Young, who was the clerk at the time. Upon Fran's retirement, I ran for the town clerk's position in 2010 and won and held that seat for 4 terms. Since March of 2014, I've been in a new role as town clerk for Linfield. As much as I love my new job, I've missed being involved with Wenham and seeing the residents on a regular basis. I had been considering running for another elected position in town when Diane Bucco, our current clerk, said, "Hey, why don't you run for moderator? We'd make a great team." So after speaking to a few key people whose opinions I value, I decided to go for it. Although the moderator is usually only seen at town meetings, it also has an appointment authority for the Finance and Advisory Committee and works with the selectman and town clerk on town meeting flow and the protocols. I feel the moderator is a position where my knowledge of town and state government will enable me to add value. And also knowing the town has recently hired town council gives me a peace of mind that I'll have assistance up on that stage. Although I am unopposed, I do ask for your vote on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trudy. Harriet Davis.
Both of my parents served the town extensively over the years. Both served as selectmen. So you see, I've been steeped in service to Wenham. I started myself in 1992 on the Iron Rail Commission and have served on the Conservation Commission, the Finance Committee, the Building Committee for the middle school, for the Building Committee for the Town Hall, and of course I was selectman too. Currently, I am chairman of the Community Preservation Committee and serve on the Historic District Commission. I'm running for this position with the cemetery because we've had a hard time finding candidates, to the extent that the selectmen have actually put on the ballot a question to make it appointed. Now, I don't know if that's going to make it any easier to find anybody. But I wanted to show that I do have some interest. There is interest in the cemetery, and both my parents are over there along with many other relatives. Gary has just gone on, I think, a year ago, and he's been a wonderful addition. I'm really looking forward to working with him for the betterment of our cemeteries. You know, we have 3 in Wenham. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Cheeseman.
Good evening. I'm currently serving as the Cemetery Commission chairman, filling out a term of the last 2 years, and now running for another 2 years. There are 3 cemeteries in Wenham: the Fairfield out on the west side, the Main Street, and the new Iron Rail. Besides the election, I would draw your attention, as Harriet did, to 2 major votes coming up at the town meeting. The first is there hopefully will be a positive vote to grant CPA money funds for preservation of the cemetery, the old gravestones. This is a follow-on from a previous effort. The second one, as addressed, is the question of keeping the Cemetery Commission an elected position. We'll have 3 people, volunteers, long experience on the Cemetery Commission after this election, and I would hope that the citizens of Wenham will vote against the proposal to make this an appointed position, because I think you really want Wenham citizens taking care of our families' graves, that we want people that have a long-term view that will manage the cemetery trust funds and prepare the budget so that the cemeteries are well-maintained on a perpetual basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and you might be surprised, but in this hotly contested race for a cemetery commissioner, there is a question from the audience. And I can guess who it is, and you may all guess who it is as well. Do you support green burials at the cemetery? And I'm assuming that means beyond the grass.
Yes, we've looked at the Iron Rail Cemetery, the newer open one, to both have the usual standard grave sites. We have the cremation grave sites, which are basically half-size, and we've looked at setting up an area along the nearby woods to either have a more informal setting and/or a green burial type of activity available.
Okay, and Harriet, are you in agreement with that?
I'm just joining the commission, so I'm not really familiar with all of it, but I think if there's a need, we will accommodate it.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the uncontested races in Hamilton, and we will also include the Hamilton Wenham Library trustees in this, so if they could come up as well. We have Jennifer Scuteri, who is running for re-election as town moderator. We have Jeffrey Mellick, who is running for re-election for a 3-year term on Planning Board. Sherry Leonard is running for a 5-year term on the Housing Authority. Joseph Hughes is running to fill an unexpired 1-year term on the Housing Authority. And finally, Andrea Carlson is running for Hamilton Town Clerk. And as I said, we will include the trustees, which include Judith Babrisky and Nicole Gray, who are both running for Hamilton Wenham Library Board of Trustees. If you could all come up, that would be fantastic.
Jeff, if you could grab that name plate. Here is everyone.
So it looks like we have Jennifer Scuteri running for moderator and Sherry Leonard running for a 5-year term on the Housing Authority. It should be noted that the moderator is an annually elected position, so I just want to point that out. We'll start with Sherry Leonard, and you have 2 minutes to let us know why you're running for the Housing Authority.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I wanted to introduce myself as Sherry Leonard. I ran last year and was in this spot last year. And my interest in the Housing Authority has not waned over that year. A little bit of introduction. I moved to Hamilton in 1998 with my husband, and we've been active in the schools and sports and various things. And now that my children are older, I have time and energy to focus on something that I really feel passionate about, which is housing, especially for seniors. And in our community, we do have some family housing as well. Last year, one of my goals when I received the result of the election was just to really give the feedback that I had heard along the way in my campaign. And so I met with the executive director along with Joe Hughes, who's running for the second seat. We met together and we expressed all of the concerns that we had heard through our campaigning. And I'm delighted to see that much is happening. We have a new director. She's been there just over a year. There are plans in place. The ball is rolling for improvement. And I think that I'm optimistic about the future of our housing authority. It's important to take our resources and work with what we have. It'll take time and energy, but we're up for it. And also, I would like to see a little bit more communication between the boards that are moving towards future housing within our town and the Housing Authority as well. So I would appreciate everybody's vote, and I look forward to serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And again, Sherry is running for the Housing Authority, and Jennifer Scuteri, 2 minutes
Okay.
for moderator.
So, good evening, and my comments are a little bit different. What I thought I'd talk about instead is not just the reason that I'm running again, but surprisingly, it's been a lot of fun. But I wanted to kind of reflect back on the year, because we've already had a special town meeting where I was able to act as town moderator and kind of get some experience. So I've been town moderator for about 350 days and would like to share with you what I've learned and accomplished. I have learned that there's a lot more work than I had imagined. I have learned that you can't possibly over-prepare for town meeting. I have learned that the more you can take care ahead of the meeting, the less chaos there will be. I have learned that when it comes to town meeting, the town clerk and town council are your best friends. I have learned that voters like the voting cards I used. I have learned that voters at the microphone do not like to have their behinds facing the audience. I have learned that voters really want to participate in town meeting and that they would like more education to learn how to do so. I have learned that after reading Town Meeting Time, which is the little blue book that town moderators rely on, but after reading it 6 or 7 times, you still will not know everything. I have learned that it probably was not a good idea to leave my town meeting time on an airplane 2 weeks before annual town meeting. I have learned that there is an emergency number for a moderator to call if you leave town meeting time on an airplane, and a new town meeting time will be shipped to you immediately. Really? So do I have any more time? Yeah, so what I just, the other things that I've tried to do is reach out to the voters, like I went to the Council on Aging in Hamilton and took them through town meeting and taught them how to be more active, how to make amendments, and I'm going to continue to do that. I think town meeting is a place of action, not grumbling, and I'd like to see all of our voters and more of our voters coming to the microphone and expressing their views.
Fantastic, thank you. Thank you both very much. And again, Jennifer Scuteri is running for moderator, and Sherry Leonard is running for Housing Authority in Hamilton. Okay, we will move on to our one contested race in Wenham, which is for the Board of Assessors. And we have George Cantwell and Thomas Tanus, who are here, hopefully. Both? No? One? Who are here? Fantastic. Come on up, and we'll get started. How are you? Good to see you.
I'll defer to the chairman. No, you go first. Okay. Pick one up and the other. Okay.
It's his tent.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen. We'll start with a 2-minute introductory statement from each of you. We'll start with Mr. Cantwell. You can go first.
Well, my name's Tom Tanis, and I have been an assessor for 6 years. It was a strange way of how I got to be there, was that I was a selectman before for 8 years, and I decided that I didn't want to run for another term. I had filled in a 2-year term as selectman and then ran for 2 more 3-year terms. And as I was leaving, and I mentioned it to Larry Schwartz, who was sitting over there, I said to him, I'm not running next year. He said, I wanted to know that, all right? So I'm going to run for selectman. I said, good, Larry. And he said, if you run for selectman, I think I'll run for your job as assessor. And that's what we did. Larry took my place as a selectman, and I took his place as an assessor. And I've been there now for 6 years. The job of assessing is not necessarily easy, because we hear the cases of people coming to us and saying, you have charged too much money to me. You're taxing me too much. And that's always the issue. You're charging too many taxes. My stock answer to them is, where were you on town meeting day? And they look at me and say, what does that have to do with it? I says, that's when you vote the money, and the taxes are based on the money you vote on town meeting day. So if you don't want your taxes to go up, if you don't want to spend all that money in helping out, then go to town meeting, okay? And that's what I tell them. But at the same time, I do look carefully at the people who need help, and are feeling that they are being overtaxed for no right reason. And we do study that, and that's the biggest part of the job, and we love doing that part, because we help the townspeople in that way. And I think I've used up my 2 minutes. Am I right?
Fantastic. All right,
George-
thank
By
you.
the way, George is a good friend of mine. We have actually known one another for nearly 40 years.
Well, it's longer.
Longer, see?
I've been here just 50 this year.
50 this year.
Yeah.
And mine is 53.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, a nice friendly competition for assessor.
I was chairman of a committee 45 years ago, and he was one of my associates.
How times have changed.
Right.
All right, Mr. Cantwell, you have 2 minutes to give your introductory remarks.
I'd like to at first thank the league for holding candidates night. I think it's a great service to the community. Thank you. I'm George Cantwell. I reside at 408 Old Country Road. I've been a resident here for 8 years. I was a resident in Hamilton for 42 years. I was an office holder in Hamilton for 23 years. I was 11 years on the housing, 3 years on the Board of Selectmen, and 9 years on the Board of Assessors. I am state certified for the Board of Assessors, and I've spent 39 years in commercial real estate, so value is something that is sort of ingrained in my blood. But the thing is that you have a community here that has some real, excuse me, some real problems, problems that we all need tax money. And I was pleased to see that the town had made some recent decisions that I approved of, and I think it's great. I look forward to working with the Board of Assessors if I'm successful. I would like very much on Election Day, if you'll think very kindly of me and thank you. Think very kindly of me and think nicely of my friend too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So we're going to ask a couple of questions here. To save time, just try to limit your answers to about a minute apiece. The first question is, when looking at abatements of property values, what criteria do you use or would you use? And we'll go to Mr. Tanous first.
Well, what we do when we look at a request for abatement is we look, first of all, if the request is legitimate. Right? Sometimes they come before us, and George knows this as well, is they say, hey, you've got me for a house with 5 bedrooms, and I've only got 4. Oh, all right. Well, can we go and look at your house to verify that you have 4? All right? And so we do that. We send our hired assessor to do it, or we'll do it ourselves. And that's one way of doing it. We also look at the neighborhood they're in and everything else and see if by chance we made a mistake. We always look at that part. Did we make a mistake? And if we feel we didn't, then we will inform the owner that we believe that his assessed value is correct.
So I think the question was dealing with abatements, though.
But
So,
that's what they're asking.
so you mean, so abatements for their actual
That's
standards?
right. An abatement, we give an abatement to a person or persons who own a house, all right? They own a house or a piece of land, and we just look at that. That's what they're asking, because we set, the town sets the taxes, which is going to be like $16.90 or something this coming year, and I know it,
my
but
fault, I know.
you asked, he followed up with a second question.
It's my fault, I was curious, so,
I know, and what we do is we look at the whole land and house and decide if he's right or
all
wrong.
right, I'm getting yelled at now, so, all right. So, Mr. Cantwell, any stark differences between yourself and Mr. Tanous on this striking topic? Your answer to the question about abatement, so your what you would look at for abatements.
Same question?
Same question, unless you'd like to just defer and move on, it's up to you.
The process is you apply, You apply generally in the month of January. It's received by the board before the closing day of January. In February, you mark this up as a committee. You invite the people in, and you have dialogue with them about their property. And the thing is that I think that there are times we forget that beyond us, you have the right of appeal, and you shouldn't forget that.
Okay, thank you. And the next question had to do with educating the public on the abatement process. I think we've successfully done that here. So we'll move on now to, over the years, there's been a much talk about neighborhoods used to determine property values in Wenham. And do you think the neighborhoods should be enlarged to include, say, the whole town, or stay the same, or perhaps be divided differently? And I'll have Mr. Cantwell start to answer this question.
You're going to help me out because
I will gladly help out. So we have, over the years, there's been much talk about neighborhoods. And so the question is, should, in determining values,
Yep.
should the neighborhoods stay the same? Should they be enlarged to include the whole town, or should they be divided differently than there are now?
Oh, well, you have neighborhoods in different parts of town, and you might decide to expand a neighborhood this particular year because the values are pretty much the same, and you'd make it one neighborhood rather than two. You can consolidate. But I would be honest with you, I don't know how many neighborhoods you have in Wenham. It's about half the size of, when I was in Hamilton, we had 10 neighborhoods, and we cut that back. But the values are not constant. The market is variable.
Fantastic. Would you like to elaborate, Mr. Tanus?
Yeah. In Wenham, we have about 10 neighborhoods, and they are from, we pick areas, we look at the entire town, by the way, is in one of those 10 neighborhoods, all right? Also, we have antique neighborhoods, all right? Because town of Wenham, particularly Main Street, has many antiques, so we have given a special consideration to those homes and considered them as antiques. And if you look at the town report this year, there's a listing of just about every house in Wenham that's an antique, and they're all in that neighborhood, even though they may be in western part of town, all right? And what we do is we look at the neighborhoods each year. We study them, and we make a decision each year as to whether or not we're going to change whether these homes are in the right neighborhood. And we do that each year. And this helps quite a lot for the people because it will either increase or decrease their value in the sense of where it is.
Okay, thank you. And the final question before your one-minute statement is, in your opinion, what does the Board of Assessors currently do well, and what can it do better? And we'll switch back, and Mr. Tanus, you can start.
What do we do well? I think we do well in taking care of the town of Wenham. We are very conscious of where we are as people living in a small town and making sure that we make sure that the taxes, not the taxes, but the placement of each home is in the right neighborhood. If we find that we've made a mistake, we correct it, and we're not afraid to correct it. I would add that I remember a couple of years ago, three individuals from one neighborhood came to us and said, "You're taxing me too much." I said, "I'll hear it." So I was the judge hearing them. And I listened to the first one, and I said, "Okay, let's go to the second one." You know, second one came in, and he said the same thing. I said, "Okay, let's hear the third one." 3 times at bat. This one gave me a good straight ball that I could hit. And he did, yep, one moment. What happened was, he said, "Why did my house go up 8% when the rest of the neighborhood went up 5%? I looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" I pulled the book out, looked at the book. He was right, we were wrong. all the homes should have gone up either 8 or 5.
Okay.
We corrected the problem, they all went to 5.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Cantwell, do you have any brief remarks on this?
Well, I think that one of the things that I am not too certain about, but measuring of all homes, that was always an interest of ours in past, and I would dare say that that's something that the town needs to work on. Town measurement, every unit should be up on the TV, on the computer, and your sizes should be, so that a owner can come in and look at it right up on the counter. And I think that's something that you'd want to work over time.
George, I don't want to say it, but we do have it,
Totally?
totally,
100%?
100%.
Wow.
You may not agree with the values, but they're there.
Well, what about all the measurements?
Measurements are there too.
All of them?
Yep.
Well, we can take that to the streets when you're
Well, that's
knocking on
very good.
doors and have that discussion with the neighbors. Okay. I just want to give you each 30 seconds to say why you for Board of Assessors. And we'll start with Mr. Cantwell. I'm sure Tom would love to tell you why he'd be on the Board of Selectmen, but Mr. Cantwell.
Thank you. I'm running because I have had 39 years in commercial real estate, and one of the things, managing large properties and portfolios, your interest was always increasing property in value. And we have a number of people in the business that just don't know the value of properties. How do you arrive at a value? And you do that through experience and classes. I'm looking forward to working with the board, and come election day, I hope that you'll think very kindly of me and send me there, and send the boss too. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tanus.
Yes.
Well, I've been there for 6 years, but I've been in town government longer than Harriet. And that's doing something, all right? I started my service as an election worker back in the 60s, you know, and I've been at it all along. And I know the town. One of the advantages I have is looking at a property, I know where it is. I've been maybe in it, or at least walked by it or stopped by it, because when I ran for selectman, I visited 85% of all the homes. And so that's why. And I do know what I'm talking about.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. And again, these are the candidates for Board of Assessors in Warren. Okay. All right, folks, and I don't want anyone to think I'm belittling the job. I actually think it's a great job, and I'm just fascinated by it because I'm sure Jennifer and Mark and everyone, I still don't understand the assessing process, and I was a selectman for 3 years. And anyway, so moving on now to the main event here, or one of the main events, I should say, the contested race for Hamilton Selectmen. We have Scott Mattern, who is the incumbent. We have Rosemary Kennedy and Allison Jenkins all running. If you all would come up, that would be fantastic. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes to tell everyone here and at home why you are running for the Board of Selectmen in Hamilton. We'll start with Allison Jenkins, who's immediately to my right. I just wanted to start with you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I have lived in town for 22 years. I've raised 2 children within the town, and I have to say, I love the town. I've worked for the town hall for the past 10 years this month. And in my tenure, I have learned a lot about our government, about how we function, our strengths, our weaknesses. And I didn't want to sit on the sidelines any longer. I wanted to run for selectman and try to make the information more available to residents so that they have more of a voice themselves within the town government. I'm hoping that we can present data in a way that is more meaningful to the residents so that they can actually look and decipher and be able to tell where we're spending our funds, where our focus is, and I hope that you will consider me as a candidate.
Thank you very much, Allison. And Rosemary Kennedy, 2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us tonight, and thank you for moderating. Thank you for coming. So I'm Rosemary Kennedy, and I have been in Hamilton for about 26 years. I think it's the best place in the world to live. I'm so happy to be here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I feel passionately about doing what I can to preserve our little piece of heaven here. What I do, I'm a registered nurse part-time and also a part-time attorney. I do a lot of pro bono work as an attorney. I've had some community involvement. Most of you probably know I ran for selectman last year and learned a great deal during the process, and I was very happy to be involved. I'm a member of the Open Space Committee. I find that such a worthwhile endeavor to help to formulate the open space plan that will preserve our open space for generations to come. I graduated from the Hamilton Citizen Police Academy last fall. That was really fun. I really learned a lot about how our town polices itself and what kind of safeguards they have in place. I'm a member of the Hamilton Wenham Garden Club, which is a wonderful endeavor. A member of the Hamilton Wenham Community Garden. And the most fun thing I did, I think, in the past year was working with the Interact group at the high school, working hard to pair students with senior citizens for home-based projects. It's a little slow getting off the platform, but it's a wonderful experience. I've met just tons of great people. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. And Scott Mattern, the incumbent.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Jeff, for doing this, and Corinne and the League. Appreciate it. I, too, love our town. Love being involved with the people in our town. That's, I think, the thing that's most rewarding, and getting volunteers involved. We're a town that's run by volunteers substantially. We've got good town management as well. But getting people involved in the different boards and committees that we have, recruiting for those is an important thing, because we always need new folks, young folks to be involved, despite all of how much experience is in this room, which is impressive. I happen to know probably most of you here, and I'm fortunate to have pretty good relationships with many of the people in Wenham, and have had a lot of things that have been involved in both towns. I've been a sports commissioner for over 20 years, youth cheerleading, lacrosse, basketball, high school level sports as well, men's activities that I've been involved in. I was involved in the Joint Library Committee for 10 years. I was a chairman and chairman of the building committee, where the building came in under budget, and anybody who uses it, we just get tremendous reviews about the library. That was an awesome experience. I was on the FinCom before the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen has been a very good experience as well. There's a lot to learn. It's a great process of engaging with all the community. You have to be very careful about listening to what's there, a lot to read, a lot to understand that's there. So it's a very, very rewarding thing to do. All four of my kids went through the high school, or all through grammar all the way through high school. Schools are great. They did all extremely well when they got into college compared to many of the people that were there. So we've got a wonderful community, and I'd like to help support it more and build it more.
Thank you very much. Okay, and now we're going to get into some questions, and I want a disclaimer that I did not write these questions, so if I get some emails later, that's, I just want to make that clear. There is one question I have for all of you later, but that one I will take, credit. They're great questions. I just, didn't want, what? Oh, yeah, we'll do 1-minute answers for each of these three, since there's three of you. I wanted to clarify something, too. They're running for 2 positions on the Board of Selectmen, so I just want to make that clear. So you're voting for 2 of the 3 up here. Okay, so we'll start with the first question, which is, what are your top 3 objectives if you are elected as a member of the Board of Selectmen? And we're going to start at the end with Scott Mattern, the incumbent. I guess, what are your 3 objectives for the new term?
Sure. 3 are our taxes and tax rate. Our homes are highly valued. The tax rate is high, so the cost to our to people is high, especially our seniors. We have a growing senior group. Now almost a quarter of the total town population are seniors. So we have to be careful about what we do. But the schools are incredibly important. They bring people to town. At our last selectmen meeting, I introduced some new neighbors who were there, and they came to town because of the schools. But we have declining enrollment. So we need to be careful about how we balance that, and we need to draw more people into our town, I believe, to make up for that. Regionalization is another important thing as a way to keep costs down. I'm a big fan of doing as much as we can with Wenham or other towns. I've hosted meetings to try to do more related to that. And housing, I think, is another thing, because I said houses are expensive, and how do young people move in to affordable homes, how do seniors stay in affordable or find affordable places is a real challenge.
Thank you very much. Rosemary?
So I think that my first priority would be to develop a broad-based resident advisory group so that we have resident-driven priorities. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect between what maybe an outside consultant thinks is a good idea versus what our citizens think is a good idea. I've spent a lot of time talking with people, and they love our small town, and I would like to work with a broad-based group to think about what would be our priorities to keep our town a great town. I think one of the most important things that I would like to do is help us all to figure out how we can do more with less. I think our finances have to get under control in this town, and I think that it's an unsustainable tax rate. Our increase of 6% this year was just really painful for a lot of people. And I think that we can do more with less money if we work hard at it, and affordable housing.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. Allison Jenkins, your 3 top priorities, objectives.
My first would be to produce data and reports out to the citizens in different formats so it may be more meaningful. So to maybe produce charts of data that show actually what our FTEs are and how they're growing or decreasing versus just the numbers. We also produce every year the numbers of what we budget, but we don't compare them to what we actually spent the year before. So you put the numbers there, but none of the percentage increases. I'd love to see percentages. Additionally, I'd love to see us do a better job with technology and efficiencies. We run the town hall the same way we've run the town hall for hundreds of years, and we're not staying abreast of technologies that would make us more efficient, that would help to bring down our tax rates and get information out quickly and uniformly to all our residents.
Okay, thank you very much. The second question is a multiple choice question. We'll start with Rosemary Kennedy and work our way around. When town meeting members vote on an issue and the vote does not go the way you, as a selectman, were hoping, what would you do? A, sue the town in an attempt to find a way to overturn the vote. B, actively work against implementing the decision or the question. Or C, do everything you can within the law to work with the other elected leaders to carry out the will of the people. And since I kind of see a D, I'll open it up to any other thing you would do. So Rosemary Kennedy, what would you do?
Absolutely, I would abide by what town meeting decided. We are a direct democracy here, and unequivocally would do my best to work with other leaders to make sure that we implemented what is the will of the people.
Okay, thank you. And Allison?
I agree with Rosemary 100%. I would add that I would love to find a mechanism, Survey Monkey, whatever it may be, so that we're actually getting the voice of the majority of the people and not the voice necessarily of just a few chosen people. We need that.
Okay, and Scott Matter.
We have no choice but to follow C. That's what we do. We always do. And it's important that we do that. We have a lot of boards and committees that then help implement those things that are town meeting decisions, and it's a very respectful process, and we listen to it very, very carefully. To Allison's point, I think, which is good about getting a lot of input, I think things to do to help make that work well, which is the second part of the question, Jeff, which is work with the Senior Citizens Council on Aging. We surveyed 1,700 people for 2 months last fall, and that's a way to get a lot of people to provide input. The Board of Selectmen and Sean Farrell is doing a lot of the work related to that right now, which is a survey to all the town's people, both in electronic and print format, which is a repeat of what we've done a little over 10 years ago. So we're doing that again. So it's an important way to get all the community input into what we're doing.
All right, thank you. And that sort of leads into my question. As I mentioned, I had a question, and it sort of involves what you all have been sort of discussing. As selectman, I found the biggest challenge to be when I had an opinion based on my expertise and my knowledge and my opinions from hearing what I heard from town leaders, Michael Lombardo, who is a town manager, and our advisors, if you will. And then the sort of the will of the people was so strongly opposed to either what I wanted or what other members of the board wanted, and how to sort of juxtapose those two things. So each have a minute to sort of explain how, when or so these surveys come back and they are deeply against, if you will, or opposed to what you are proposing, how you would juxtapose those two things and work to hopefully bring them together, or how would you come to a solution? So we'll start with, who do I start? I think we'll start with Allison now. Okay.
I understand your question. I think it all depends, though, on, so once you have a question and it's posed at town meeting and it's been voted at town meeting, you have no choice, as Scott says. You have to go and move forward.
So I'm more just talking about outside of town meeting.
Before you get
correct.
there.
Yep.
So before you get there and the people are voting to determine what we should vote on the warrant?
What I'm basically saying is you've determined that the opinions of the majority of folks in Hamilton disagree with your position. Do you change your position, or do you work to educate them, or do you find a middle ground?
If the majority of the residents did not agree with my opinion, I would go with the majority of the residents, because I think we have to start moving forward with the respect of 80% of the residents and move forward. It may not be my personal opinion, but if that is the will of the majority of the people within the town, I feel I don't necessarily have to change my opinion, but I have to work for what the people truly want within the town.
Okay, thank you. And Scott Matter?
So I agree with Allison. It's a democracy, and we follow the will of everybody who's there, and having more and more people contribute is really important. We hear lots of ways about that. We have many boards and committees with lots of volunteers, with all those people who know lots of people, so there's a lot of word of mouth that comes with that too. And then there's things that when there's a particularly loud voice that's spoken, you also need to follow up, and what do you do about things like that? For example, there was a particularly popular town meeting about the Perry property, and there was decision for the current owners to proceed with that, and the town not to buy it. But the evolution of the select board was to develop we now have what's called the land acquisition policy. Like, instead of just this reactionary thing, what should be a policy of approaching things like this that come up for us, so that we can help communicate that better to the townspeople.
Thank you. And Rosemary Kennedy?
Could I just have a brief 10-second review?
You've got your opinion of what you want to implement in the town, and it's very clear, as Scott was saying, there's a loud group or a majority of the folks in town who completely disagree with you. Before anything goes to town meeting, how do you approach that?
I would want to talk to people. I would go out and about and talk with people and find out just what their opinion is, and I would talk to them about why I feel the way I feel, and just have a meeting of the minds. It doesn't mean that I'm going to try to change their mind. It just means I want to understand how they feel. I would never, ever try to bulldoze somebody into doing something that they feel is wrong for them, because I firmly and utterly believe that the citizens and the residents in our town have the absolute right to make decisions, and I would never, ever want to change their mind. I would want to understand how they felt so that I could maybe do a better job of representing them, because after all, as a selectman, I would work for you, and that's my pledge.
Okay, thank you. This question is specifically, each one will have a specific question to yourselves. The first question is for Allison Jenkins. Allison, as a town employee, this will bring a unique perspective to the Board of Selectmen. What do you see as the challenges of being both an employee and an elected official that will also vote on the issues that will impact the town?
I don't see it as having an issue or impeding me in any way of being a selectman. I think it actually gives me a unique insight into the town. I actually see the workings and what's happening in the town as far as efficiencies or rumblings or how we actually are working together or not, I came from an organization that was highly efficient. We were there to make money. The town isn't necessarily run because you're not running it to make money. You're trying to run it for your people, and you're spending the money that you raise in taxes, but the approach seems to be different than a profitable company. And I think if we looked at it and implemented efficiencies, that like we were for profit, the whole town would benefit. But it won't impede me to be both an employee and a selectman at the same time, should that happen.
Okay, thank you very much. And Scott Mattern, in the Chronicle, this question is for you, obviously. In the Chronicle, you stated that if elected, you would work on controlling the increasing tax rate. What exactly do you plan on doing, and would you support any cuts to the school budget?
So we've had a lot of long and hard discussions with the FinCom, the FinComs of Wenham, my individual communications with Wenham Selectmen too, because we're in this together, both towns. The school is a great resource of ours. So we've got a really good, respectful process working with the district, being aware of the demographics. Dr. Harvey gave a presentation to each of the boards of selectmen recently, budget updates, what's going on, very cognizant of the demographic changes and reductions in enrollment, and doing their utmost to control costs. So we don't actually have the authority to cut school budgets. It doesn't work that way. And I've been supportive of the school budgets. But next year, I think the FinComs are thinking about ideas of flat spending, if possible. That hasn't been assessed or evaluated really yet. I'd like to know how it works with the good schools that we have today, so that we don't impact those.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mattern. And Rosemary Kennedy, this question is for you. In the Chronicle, you stated that, quote, the best and most frugal uses of tax money should continue to be a focal point of discussion among the selectmen, end quote. What tax issues will you bring to the table to be a focal point of discussion, if selectmen?
Great. Well, I think one of the important things is that we need to look to do more with less, and we need to rethink our priorities. Instead of bigger, better, shinier, whatever, think fundamental. What's fundamental and functional? What's required to get the job done? For example, I've had a meaningful conversation with Catherine Harrison over at Wenham. We talked a little bit, should I be lucky enough to be elected, talking about shared services on a very small level to start with, but just have meaningful conversations instead of just having meetings perfunctorily. Let's make a difference. Certainly outsourcing some of our plowing and field maintenance can be done to save us money, so we spend the money when we need it and we don't have the expenses of holding on to all the equipment. For instance, we could borrow fields at Pingree and Gordon instead of Gordon College in lieu of taxes, instead of thinking about building new fields. We can make our finite resources reach further and work harder for all of us, and that's what I would do.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we had Unprecedented interest in the cemetery. Okay, good. Okay, I was going to say, I was getting a little nervous here. All right. So we have a question from the audience here, and it's for the folks at the table here. If elected, are you willing to have a serious discussion with the school committee on the appropriation formula, which of course is referring to the formula that currently exists, whereby, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's what 60, I forget what it is, it's some percentage more for Hamilton based on population than Wenham. So how would you approach that? And we're going to start with Scott Mattern.
So we already regionalize or outsource almost two-thirds of our spending in Hamilton. A big piece of that is the schools. I think there's more we can do with Wenham, frankly, and I brought this up with all of the selectmen of Wenham. So that's an important thing. With the chairs, I meet regularly over the last 2 years as me being the Hamilton Board of Selectmen chairperson. And I think we can do more. We've done with both the Board of Selectmen as well as the FinCom have brainstormed ideas that can work together between the two towns, and the FinComs are starting to follow up on those things. So one aspect is many years ago the numbers were going the other way in Hamilton, and we couldn't reach a deal about changing potentially the apportionment. I think it needs to be looked at in toto for the towns and how that works out. So we're not just allocating existing costs, but how do we, I represent Hamilton, how do we in total can save some money?
Okay, Rosemary Kennedy?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. So the way the school budget works is it's a portion based on the population of students from each town.
Right.
So the question is, how would you approach Wenham seriously about that topic and get them to change that appropriation formula, or would you keep it the same?
Well, I think it's a question of fairness to begin with, and I think it costs each town the same amount of money per child. So I don't know about this topic in depth. I certainly will if I'm elected, but I don't have a lot of education about it. But I will say that if we have 40% of our kids coming from Wenham and 60% coming from Hamilton, I mean, unless you factor in special needs or things like that, I mean, I suppose I would keep it the same if it was fair, depending on if the kid was a elementary kid or a middle school or a high school kid, and special needs kids. I guess I would look at it to see if it's fair and then support it if it was.
Okay, thank you. Allison Jenkins.
I would like to look at it differently. I don't know if it's the correct answer, but I don't think it should just solely be based on the populace of children. I believe Wenham has one school. We have the other 4 schools. Giving up all that land hurts us in our tax rate because we don't do something else with that land. Having the pool is, again, you've given up a large amount of land in your town dedicated to a source that's for both towns. So I don't think it should just be, I think we should look at, should it just be based on the number of students and then a percentage? Because, as I said, the fact that we have 4 schools and Wenham has 1, I think negatively impacts the town of Hamilton.
So I'll ask a follow-up question on this to maybe get some clarification from each of you. But one of the things that I always thought of was the overhead costs that pretty much will exist regardless of whether there's a certain amount of. So maybe would you each be in support of something where at least the administration or whatever you would be split 50-50? Would that be something that you guys would think would be a good compromise, or do you think it needs to go further and maybe looked at in more depth? I don't know.
I think we should need to look at it in more depth and maybe in a new way. And maybe, I don't know how many people feel the same way, but I do think that we have to start looking at our resources, our buildings, our town, and what they're appropriated for and how we're using them are affecting your tax rate. So I would like to look at it. I don't know how it will play out or what the will of the majority will be, but That's how I feel about it at this time.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll have each of you give a 1-minute closing remarks as to why you should be elected to the Board of Selectmen. We'll start with,
They each answer that?
oh, would you each like to answer my ridiculous follow-up question?
Sure.
So basically, do you believe that the overhead costs, I mean, the administrative costs, basically are equal regardless of how many students, I mean, to a certain extent, come from each town? Would you be in favor of splitting those costs 50/50?
I think what Elson says makes sense. How much does the town of Hamilton lose in potential tax revenue for having the schools there? So that's one issue, but then the second issue is sort of the overhead is the same for both towns. So it's a hard question, and it's something that is a very interesting question, and I would like to explore it more. That's probably about as much as I can contribute right at this moment.
Okay, and Mr. Mattern?
No, I wouldn't support carving out any particular portion of the school budget that somehow gets allocated differently. We all have the kids in schools. It's one service in a way to both towns. So I wouldn't support doing some ways it might, I just think it's one thing that we should look at.
Okay, and I will not broach the subject of town merger. So, with that, Harriet Davis is in the room. I'm not touching that subject. So with that, we're going to start with your 1-minute closing remarks, and we will start with Mr. Mattern on the left over there, and move through to Allison Jenkins. Scott, you go first.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone goes out and votes on April 7th. Chances are, if you're watching this, you're already engaged, but please do that. I think I have a lot of proven accomplishments in our town over a long period of time. You've heard a lot about the experience in both towns, and that's important, whether helping create our library, working with Wenham recently. They helped fund the pool, so we have a joint pool in that agreement, and even state funding for that. I've helped with young kids to seniors, and my activities in the Board of Selectmen, I found, in working with all the boards and committees there and getting new people recruited, that is really, really great. So I think I have a lot of proven accomplishments working not only in Hamilton, but outside of Hamilton, because a lot of our spending and costs are regionalized. So, and I think I've got particularly good relationships there with our friends in Wenham and other towns, actually, that I've tried to do other things to even regionalize our ECO with Essex or Manchester or others. So please come out and vote on the 7th and vote for me.
Thank you very much to all of you.
No,
And
they
with-
get closing.
each. Yeah. Rosemary Kennedy. Can you tell I lost my page? There it is. I'm back on track. Rosemary Kennedy, please give us 1 minute.
Okay, great.
As to why
So-
you'd be great.
Many residents of all ages have expressed a desire for a continued, small, affordable town. I appreciate differing views from our town, and I believe the best way forward is a change at Town Hall that reflects a cost-effective and open, inclusive approach to governance. And so I ask for your vote as selectmen, because I care deeply about what our town will look like in 10 years. I hope that you'll consider me on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Allison Jenkins, your 1 minute.
1 minute.
Your 1 minute.
For those of you who don't know, I worked in Town Hall as the Board of Selectmen's administrator for 3.5 years. I worked very closely with the Board of Selectmen at that time and instituted a number of efficiencies, one being the renumbering of all your warrants so we can actually find what year we passed which article, because it never had that. I went through and had the seniors go through every record of every town meeting so that we searched out every law that we've ever accepted. We didn't have a document that contained the law, so you had to go back and just read through every book randomly to try and find if we had ever accepted it. I love efficiencies, I love change, I love ways to do things with the resources that you have and do it better. I love working in this, the town. I hope you will consider me for your candidate.
Well, thank you very much. Now with that, Everybody has spoken. And remember, you're voting for 2 of these fine candidates out of 3 for the position. And let's give them all a round of applause.
That wasn't so painful.
Okay, now with that, we will move on to the next contested race, and we'll try to keep pace. For Hamilton Wenham School Committee, there are 4 candidates running for 3 positions. Those candidates are David Polito, Michelle Bailey, Richard Boroff, and Janice Bertrand, who is the incumbent. And if all of those folks could kindly come to the front of the room, that would be great. Thank you. There you go. Also, Deb Evans, who is an incumbent, is running for an uncontested 1-year term. She was not able to attend this evening and sends her regrets. What's that?
How many of these are going to be elected?
Yes, 3 positions. So again, you're voting for 3 of the 4 of the folks up here for the positions at the election. Now, I've been a little sporadic with my ordering, so we're going to start with the order I have on the sheet and go from there. So you each will have 2 minutes for an introductory remark, and we'll start with Mr. Polito.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. My name is David Polito. Excuse me. I'm a Wenham resident on Topsfield Road. I just moved back to Wenham in last August of 2015. I'm a graduate of the Hamilton Wenham School District, 1992. So this is my first term running for, or first campaign running for anything, but I've actually been involved in education for the past 20 years. In 1998, I joined City Air in Boston, where I was a team leader for a few years, developing curriculums for the Boston Public School System. I sit on the alumni board for City Air Boston, where I was actually a founding member for the past 3 years. And I decided that, I coach my children. I have 2 young children. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old that are in the school system now, and I like coaching them in town sports. I really wanted to get more involved in their education. So I decided to run and, give the school committee a shot. Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Boroff, and again, just make sure you lean into that mic so everyone can hear you.
Okay.
We're also recording, so we want folks at home to hear us.
Thanks, Jeff. As an aside, most of the people haven't read their statements, but I have to read mine or I'll just get all over the world and never get done.
Fair enough.
My wife and I have lived in Hamilton on Moynihan Road for about 40 years. We raised our 2 boys here, and they had both attended the regional schools for all 12 years. I am passionate about education, believe a strong education is needed to prepare our children and grandchildren to be able to preserve our country and our way of life. The problem is, but it takes a lot more than a love for education to be a good school committee member. It takes a lot of hard work, which some of you who've been on the school committee know. I am retired. I have plenty of time to devote to the needs and responsibilities of being a school committee member, and I previously served for 4 years on the committee. Currently, I'm an associate member of the Hamilton Planning Board. In addition, I've attended many meetings of the Hamilton Finance Committee and some of the Hamilton Development Corporation. School committee has 2 primary roles. First, to approve a district budget. Second, to set policy for the district. The committee has 7 members. Each has a vote, and each should express his ideas. There are several important items the school committee will take up this year. First is the approval of the new private girls' school in Wenham. According to state law, the school committee is required to approve any new private school in the district. And it is an extensive process and may require a policy by the school committee, not to mention the tremendous amount of work. There's going to be apportionment, which is really a problem between the 2 towns and will be solved with a greater regionalization. And there are turf fields that are going to be taken up at the feasibility study funded by the CPCs of the 2 towns, and the Joint Rec Commission will head that, but the school committee will be involved. and it's going to be a very interesting year, and I hope that you will have me be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And Michelle Bailey, your 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Michelle Bailey. I am a 20-plus year resident of Wenham. I am running for the school committee because I have 2 students in the Hamilton-Wenham Regional Schools. One is at the Miles River, and one is at the Regional High School. Throughout the last probably 10 years or so, I've been very involved in keeping up with what's going on politically with the school district, with the school committee, with the finances of the towns, and with the budget of the school district. So I'm very knowledgeable in putting those things together and how the actual mechanism works. I have attended probably all the town meetings in the last 10 years, and the majority of them in the last 20. I took a few years off when there were babies. And I understand a lot about the importance of transparency and openness in government. Our people of the town are those who pay for the school buildings, and for the government to operate, and it's important that the people know what is happening, what's being discussed, and what's being decided. So I'm probably been what people would call annoying, but I have annoyed several committees in town to be more open with the posting of their documents and their agendas, and I intend to continue to be just as annoying to the school district to be able to provide their information in a timely manner, and also to provide meaningful information.
Thank you very much. I can attest to some of those requests. I would never call them annoying.
But all legitimate.
And Ms. Bertrand, the incumbent school committee member, 2 minutes.
Good evening. I'd like to first start by thanking the League of Women Voters for holding this night. I, too, can attest to many an email and phone call by Michelle, but I would never call you annoying. The school committee has accomplished a great deal in the last 3 years, and the momentum that we've gained is very important. The committee has hired Jeff Sands, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Administration. Hiring him has been one of the best things the school committee has done. He is very good at his job and very good with budgets and numbers. He's pulled our budget in line to the point of we had no recommendations from our auditing team last year. The school committee has also implemented the team model at the middle school. Which has been a long-standing goal of the school committee. We've done so many things that I could sit here and list, but for me, it's important because I had lunch in this room. I went to elementary school here, and I think it's important to give back to the community where I was graduated from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll move into some questions. So what we'll do is a few of these will be split up to 2 of you answering a piece. So the first question is for Michelle Bailey and David Polito. So we'll start with what are the 3 biggest challenges facing public education today, and what are the 3 biggest challenges facing our school district? And we'll give you each, what did the timekeeper say? 2 minutes? 2 minutes to answer that question. I'll let them find the right cards. I will start with Michelle.
A couple of the biggest challenges in education today are that many of the jobs that are in the job market today are not jobs that the students who even existed when the students first started elementary school. And we can probably expect the same to occur, that students who are in first grade now, when they graduate, will be becoming career-bound for jobs that don't even exist today. I don't know how many of you have a cell phone, but how many of you knew when you were 25 years old that today you would carry a computer in your hand? maybe Mr. Stenson, but that's the only one of us. The other challenge that's involved is that the standards in education are changing. There's lots about the Common Core, and a lot of that's already been done, but the standards for social studies and science, the next generation science standards, are coming out. And so while the district has taken the challenge of the Common Core and put it in place, they're going to have the challenge of putting those standards in place. And the challenge for education is the same challenge for all government, is funding. The state has recently completed the Chapter 70 funding study, and that the simulation on that has shown that even though they're supposed to be providing more funding for healthcare costs, which are a big chunk of our district's costs, that actually Hamilton at this point would receive not one extra penny. So we really need to continue to focus on the state for funding. The district challenges, the first one is our facilities. Scott mentioned that we have declining enrollment. We're actually had a peak enrollment in 2008, which was our 30-year peak. Right after we opened the middle school, we really thought ahead, opened a middle school, we dealt with that, but now we have to look at our facilities, see if it's still meeting our needs. The district needs to continue to provide quality education for our students and to educate them for those future jobs. And we'll be doing that through technology and implementing the new standards.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to point out that I never owned an iPad through high school, and my first cell phone was a beeper in 8th grade, so there you go. Mr. Polito.
I probably agree with just about everything that Michelle said. Excuse me. I think probably the major concern in all of education, both regionally and throughout the country, is the rising cost of education versus the actual smaller budgets, in, you know, the money that actually takes to pay for that. I think a lot of the standardized testing that's involved in, you know, creating the Common Core. I'm a Master of Education candidate, so I actually sort of know the theory on why they have all these standardized testings. I don't think they're necessarily implementing the process right, and I think it's actually costing a lot of valuable resources. Excuse me. You know, and again, I think that trickles right back down to the local school system as well as the national. And you know, and then probably one more that I would just bring up was, you know, I graduated from Hamilton Wenham High School in 1992, and at the time, the high school itself was outdated and really needed to be, you know, enlarged and updated, and I can't believe that the kids are still going to the same school, and, you know, with a first grader and a child going into kindergarten next year, I know at some point that we're going to need to address a new high school for them at some point, so, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Polito. The next question is for Ms. Bertrand and Mr. Boroff. We'll start with Ms. Bertrand. In your opinion, what has the school district done well over the last 5 years, and what has the district done poorly that you would change?
That's a great question, thank you. The school committee and this district have done a lot of great things. We've implemented the teaming model at the middle school, which I had mentioned. We have aligned all of our contracts so that we're negotiating all of the contracts at the same time so that the economic conditions are the same as we go through the negotiating process. The one thing, though, that we hadn't been doing so well that we've been getting better at in recent years is communication. Not so much communicating from the people to the school committee, but really getting all that information from the school committee out to the stakeholders and the constituents. So we have a new spotlight, which is the school committee communications. And we have email addresses up on the website and phone numbers up on the website so that you can always reach your elected officials.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Boroff.
Okay. What do you want, 3 of each, right?
No, not at all.
What have they done? Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Go back.
In your
Okay.
opinion, what has the district done well over the 5 years, and what has the district done poorly over the 5 years? You
well
can
over the
choose one or
5
two
years
For each. would be good.
is, well,
How much time we got?
well over the 5 years, what I like best that I've seen the school district do is 21st century skills. Superintendent Harvey has brought in a lot of things, a lot of ideas, and I'd like to see that continuing. I think that's tremendous. Poorly, Janice mentioned team teaching, but that was something that was actually done previously, way back in Dr. McGrath's time. So that was good, but it's been here before, and it's a very good practice. Poorly, I think we need to spend a lot of thought on the school, on the buildings, as has been mentioned. The high school started about the same time I left high school, so you know that is a long, long time ago. Don't laugh. Seriously. The real problem is whether or not that building can work with 21st century skills, and that's the kind of thing Dr. Harvey is going to have to spend a lot of time with us. So that's something I think that needs at least a lot of work, if not a lot of improvement.
Okay,
That's fine.
thank you very much. And so now this question is going to actually go to David Polito and Janice Bertrand. This question is regarding union employee contracts. One of the roles, of course, of the school committee is to negotiate the union employment contracts. What experience, expertise, and/or skills do you possess that would assist in negotiating such contracts? And we'll start with the incumbent, Janice Bertrand, on this question.
I have not as yet been part of the negotiating teams, but in our executive sessions, I have asked many important questions and received answers. If I were to be a part of the negotiating team, I would definitely look back at the previous negotiating teams and ask what institutional knowledge they had that they could share with me. And I think that would be very important.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Polito.
Sure, yeah. For 10 years, from 2004 to 2014, I was a department manager at Massport, where I was actually in charge of 6 union employees, and so in the various budgets there, I always kept my employees happy, coming to work every day and always under budget. So a little bit of experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, the next question's for Michelle Bailey and Richard Boroff. Do you have any specific changes you'd want to make to school district policies, programs, or curriculum? And if so, what changes would you like to make and why? You have the 2 minutes, Richard, so you can say as many as you'd like. Go.
Thank you. Okay. Well, actually, there is one area that does need some work on policies, and that is the management letter that the district received about a year ago in June. There are 6 items on that list that haven't been addressed yet, and they're all policies. They have to do with computer security, passwords, policies for setting them, and policies are one of the functions of the school committee. So that would be a number 1 priority on my list. Curriculum, that's a question that goes to the superintendent, so I would have nothing to add to that. That's not really our concern. And what was your third area, please?
It was simply, well, you could choose policies, programs, or curriculum. So if you'd like to touch on that, you can.
Programs also, well, okay, I have one. I was talking to couple of residents of the district who are employed at the seminary or the college, Gordon, and there's 2 things that they had of interest. They wanted to increase the feelings between, or better the feelings between the seminary and the towns, and the second would be there are a large number of people at the seminary especially who are from all over the world, and they were wondering if perhaps there could be some kind of a program set up so that these people could show the kind of culture that they have in their country. We're talking about Africa, China, Asia, all over the place. And I think that would be wonderful.
All right, thank you. And Michelle Bailey.
Yeah. Several years ago, I was part of the group Support Our Schools, and we had sent Dr. Harvey and the school district a list of things that we felt should be worked on. And one of those that has not been addressed, but I do think is going to be increasingly important, is we used to, in middle school, teach things like shop and home ec, and those were real practical skills. And they're skills that teach how to measure and how to organize and how to manage. And I think that we don't really have, life skills tries to approach that, but I think we really need to look at implementing some more technology and engineering in the middle school, and possibly bringing back some sort of class like that, or finding a way to integrate that into our science curriculum as that's coming forward. I work at a school that has a technology lab where we have 3D printers and we have the ability to do carpentry. We have a wet lab where we have the ability to do science experiments in that way. And so I think that Hamilton Wenham needs to reach out and do more things like that. As far as policy goes, I do feel like we need to have a visitation policy for the district, so that we can find ways that the public can come in and see what's going on in the school district, that people who are interested in coming to the school district can have a way of coming in and sort of visiting the school, whether they're returning from a private school or they're coming over from the NDCC at third grade, because those parents are evaluating whether to come to our schools or to go to a private school, and they should have the opportunity to come and see what we have to offer here.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Jeff,
Yep.
would you have time for about a 10-second anecdotal addition to her statement?
10 seconds? Sure.
Maybe 15.
Okay,
Okay.
15.
Putting you on the timer.
Thank you, ma'am. I volunteer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bora.
I volunteer at Ipswich River Audubon Sanctuary, and we have a lot of doing property work, which means anything and everything. We have a lot of high school and college interns come in, and we're always working with tools and stuff, and it's amazing what they don't know. Do you guys know how to use that saw that's sitting there that you're going to have to pick up and cut that board with? No. Okay, let me show you how to do it. And you're right, they don't know how to use basic tools. It's incredible.
Okay, thank you. I just want to do a quick follow-up. Each have a minute at most to answer this, and I know it's a tough question, but I want to hear your opinions on it. You brought up Gordon College. I think it's an important question that we're not touching on tonight. How you see the future of our relations with Gordon College, what you think they can offer, how you foresee things progressing, if you want them to progress, and just basically going off of what Richard started to say. We'll start with David Polito.
This is actually an interesting question. I'd love to touch on what Richard and Michelle mentioned earlier, probably in my closing, but Gordon College is a tough one. I'm a very, very big advocate of equal rights, and I actually ended up going to school and getting my master's at Gordon, and it was a really tough decision for me to sort of have to hold some of the my inner beliefs and in actually attending the school, because it was the best choice for me at the time. My thought process of being within the community there is, it's a wonderful community and of wonderful scholars that really want to be part of the Wenham community. I'm hoping I'm making a difference from the inside, and I would love to actually try and rebuild that relationship with the town and the school.
Okay, thank you. And Richard, you somewhat touched on this.
Okay, more than what I said, I really don't have an answer. I think it's a very difficult subject. I think it's going to take a lot of compromise on both sides. One of the problems is the school and people of the towns come from very opposite opinions, and that's very difficult to bring together in the middle, but it's very important to try. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I think it's important to try to do it.
Michelle Bailey?
Like David, I am a graduate of the Gordon College Masters of Education program, and I find that the facilities are very nice there, and that every person that I interact with is completely interested in making the world a better place, and that I think that's the goal of our community as well. And I personally see no issue with using the facilities there any more than I do with the school using facilities at any other institution in town that holds similar beliefs. I know Hamilton has talked about using the Congregational Church in Hamilton, and they hold similar beliefs to Gordon, and I believe that, you know, the facility is a facility, and we are not ascribing to a philosophy by using a building.
Okay, thank you. And Janice Bertrand, do you have a thought on this?
Yes, Gordon is a very hard subject. This topic came up because we had students at the high school that felt comfortable coming to the principal, and the principal came to the school committee. And he said that there were students at the high school who were uncomfortable being graduated at Gordon. Now, whether or not my personal beliefs line with Gordon or with any religion in general does not negate the fact that my responsibility is to the students and to their needs and their feelings. And so I believe that it is a very difficult subject to have a discussion about we are so passionate about it on both sides. But it is our responsibility to listen to our students and take into account their feelings.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to, okay, we're going to move on now to, look at this, Michelle, you get another question here with David Polito. In this regard, this is regarding school choice. So as you know, students can come through a lottery system to come into the Hamilton Wenham school system. And, you know, we're having a decline in enrollment, which we'll get to. Actually, you know what, we'll get to that in a second. But what is your position on school choice and the strategy to sort of keep the variety of courses at the high schools, specifically where school choice is a factor, robust? And we'll start with Michelle Bailey and go to David Polito.
Well, I've been here to speak to the school committee. I was the only person who came to the school choice hearing this year and last year. And I personally believe that we are making a mistake. Well, when I came this year, I asked the school committee to do an audit at the end of the fiscal year so that the statements which have been made that the school choice costs us money, that we should do an audit of that hypothesis and show that by having fewer students over the course of the last 2 years that we've actually saved money. So my opinion is not really what's important. What is important is that we do a factual study to show that either we are saving money by not having as many choice students, or we are having a lost opportunity in revenue by not accepting them.
There was a study that I was a part of with Barbara Lawrence and other folks. I think, Daisha, were you on the school committee then? I can't remember.
No, it was after that.
Okay, never mind. So there was never a study. I was never on a subcommittee.
There was a study, and you were on it.
But I think it's important to continue that discussion for sure. And David, what's your position on this very hot topic?
So, well, it's funny because I actually have a very personal position on this because we sold our house in Wenham in 1990 or so, and in the process of looking for a new house, ended up renting a place in Danvers. So my junior year of high school, I actually had to go to Danvers High. And, that was a bit tough. But we found a place in Hamilton and ended up finishing the school year, my high school career back in Hamilton. The other side of that is I actually have a lot of really good friends still that were school choice students back in the day. I actually think that, to sort of touch on one thing I wanted to say about Richard and the Conwell folks, that school choice had actually, one thing that it actually can bring to this community that is some diversity, which is not a bad thing. I had a very meaningful discussion with a few of my fellow graduates from '92 about the diversity issues in Hamilton-Wenham, and it's funny because their thought process on the community as a whole and the diversity and acceptance was a lot different than what I went through coming through. So I really think school choice would actually help.
Okay, thank you. All right, this question is for everyone, and this is regarding the fiscal aspect of the school committee. On the fiscal side, what skills do you bring to the table, and how will you enlist support for public school spending from conservative voters and taxpayers with no children who are in public schools? And we'll start with Janice Bertrand, the incumbent on this question.
When I was in college, I took a class on accounting, specifically so that I could begin to understand all of the documents that are put in front of you as a school committee member. They're very detailed and they are very complicated. Jeff Sands does an amazing job of breaking down all of the information and explaining all of the revenues and all of the expenditures so that you can understand all of the numbers that he is presenting to you, even if you are not a finance major.
Okay, thank you very much. Michelle?
I have been following the school budget, and I've been following the town budget for several years. I know how to read the budget. I'm a math teacher. I know how to calculate the percentage change, which is annoyingly not in the book as it should be. And I know at least one person in this room who has calculated those on her own and written them in. So I'm good at math. I'm good at that. I'm good at the budget. I understand how the circuit breaker works. I understand how the state funding, Chapter 70, works. I understand how the apportionment works and how it's calculated in its flaws. And I can bring an understanding of many, many, many long years of sitting at FinCom meetings and at school committee meetings and understanding what the budget changes and budget drivers have been.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Boroff?
Okay. Like Michelle, I've had a tremendous amount of experience with the same kinds of things. I was on school committee for 7 years and on the finance subcommittee all those 7 years. I understand the budget. I have a pretty good idea of where to look for things and understand the changes year to year and so on and what they mean. I was also in business for 20 years, so even though the school district budget is not profit and loss, I can see where the problems are and what's going on, that kind of thing. And I've listened to the FinCom talk for a whole year, and I believe I'm ready to go.
Okay, Mr. Polito?
So, besides us having students in the school and obviously wanting the school well-funded and well-run, I'm also a taxpayer here in town, so, I feel the crunch myself. But, for the past, like I said, 10 years when I was working with Massport, I was managing projects varying from, no budget to hundreds of millions. So, I've had my way around number sheets before, so so that wouldn't be much of a surprise. Obviously, I would love to try and get in there, really find ways to cut some costs here and there, and I'm sure that everyone's already been doing that, but, I'm a creative problem solver myself, so hopefully I can lend a hand in that.
Okay, thank you. And we do have a question from the audience, sort of a follow-up to that, specifically for you, Richard. you're popular tonight. Regarding 10 overrides in the past you supported and doggedly opposed efforts to end the succession of overrides. With all that in mind, I can't really read that. With all that in mind, why do you think residents should risk returning to the days of budgeting by override?
Nobody said we were going to. First of all, is the answer to that. And secondly, when we did overrides, we did it with the facts that we had at the time. We made the decisions we felt we had to make, and at the time, they were the right decision. Long-term, they may or may not have been the right decision, but we did with the best we could with what we had. And in fact, it was, we found that some of the problems that we ended up having more money than we thought we had. Peter Gray was able to figure that out, and we found that revolving accounts were not being used properly. Well, that has solved a whole lot of the problem. So if we don't need overrides, we don't need them. We won't go to them. We do what we have.
Okay, thank you. We're
Thank
running
you.
out of time here, but very quickly, we did have one more question for the audience regarding the decline in school enrollment, which was somewhat touched upon, but not really to probably this asker's reasons. To what do you attribute the decline in school enrollment? And do you think that there's anything been done by the schools to determine how many students live in town but go elsewhere, which I think was touching on what Michelle was saying first. We'll start with David and work to Janice.
You know, I've not really put much thought to that before. You know, about students going to other towns, you know, all I can think of is, you know, we want to create the best product we can here in town. You know, the school system is our asset. It's what's going to drive new families into town to come in and, you know, buy the homes and enroll their students and not choose neighboring towns because of their school systems. So, you know, I really want to work on that and keeping our high level of, you know, of progress within the school systems and keeping, you know, high expectations, high achievement rates, and actually, you know, create a school system that draws people to towns and makes people, it makes Hamilton Wenham a destination to live instead of, you know, a choice. It's the choice.
Richard.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's not really a tremendous amount except providing an excellent education that the school district itself can do. The problem is that first there are a certain percentage of people who will always send their children to private schools. They're just going to do that regardless. That's a mindset, that's their right, and that's their will, and that's okay. And the second part of the reason is there are real changes in demographics. There seem to be a change in the number of people moving into the towns, a change in the balance of people moving into the two towns. And again, that's not something that the school district and school committee can do anything about. So we're going to have to run with the flow. What we could do is bring in choice, and that would bring in more money and, like David and Michelle have said, change some of the characteristics of the students. But that's it. Thank you.
Hey, and Michelle, I guess going back to the question, what do you attribute it to, and do you think further study should be done to see why it actually occurs?
The enrollment is declining because in 2008, we had an all-time 30-year high enrollment at a time when we had a lot of choice students and we had a lot of more children because we had a population boom. And since then, the American demographics show that the population is aging, which means there are fewer children in the United States, and that comes down to Wenham. There's nothing we can do about declining enrollment unless we choose to allow choice students to come here, or allow large development of properties that are not kept to only those who are over 65. So unless we're going to develop homes for families or have choice students, we're going to continue to see a decline in our enrollment.
Okay, thank you. And Janice, your thoughts on this?
Yes, there is a subcommittee in the school committee right now, the planning committee, that is looking at this enrollment very closely. We're working with both town clerks to see not only whether or not the declining enrollment is going to continue, but we're working very closely with NESDEC, who does all of our enrollment projections, so that as a school committee, we can better plan for whatever enrollment we will see going forward. On the matter of choice, we have made a decision as a school committee to not admit more students than we already have sections, which means that if you have 4 sections of 25 for an English class, because everybody has to take English in the high school, and you have 3 classes of 25 and you have a class of 20, you admit 5 choice students, so that you no longer are creating extra sections for those choice students, which does in fact cost us more money than the state gives us, because the formula hasn't been changed since the early 90s, when that number was created.
Okay, thank you very much. We've
1 minute closing.
Okay, we will, all right. So we'll give each of you a minute to give your closing remarks. We'll start with the incumbent, Janice Bertrand, and we'll work down our way to David Polito.
The school committee is on a good path. We have hired a maintenance team. We've caught up on all of the preventative and lack of maintenance that had been going on. We have pulled our budget into line so that last year our budget was within, our actuals of what we actually spent was within less than 1% of what we had budgeted for. To disrupt this flow would cause a problem not only for the taxpayers, but for the students who we are charged to educate. I would like to see the momentum of the committee continue. We've done many, many good things, and I believe we could do more now that we're moving forward rather than just pedaling and treading water in place. I thank you for your support, and I ask for your votes on the 7th of April.
Thank you very much. Michelle Bailey, your 1 minute closing.
I'm just going to say the election is on April 11th, or 7th, at Winthrop School, one of the schools that the Hamilton-Wenham School District is proud to be part of the district, or at the Town Hall in Wenham from 7 to 8, and I hope you'll vote for me.
Thank you. Mr. Boroff.
Yeah. Problems, issues, and duties that are facing the school committee are obviously wide-ranging, and no one member can do it all, nor should any one member try to. The committee will need a variety of strengths, knowledge, and capabilities to accomplish its tasks, and it requires a lot of open discussion and compromise to do its work. I am a fact-based person. I tend to think outside the box, and I'm a generalist. And there's a great deal I can and will do to contribute to the school committee. I have experience with and respect for open meeting law, Robert's Rules of Order, both which affect the operations of the school committee. And I would appreciate it and love it if you would all vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Polito.
No, I just want to say as a graduate of Hamilton-Wenham, this education that I got in these towns and in this district has treated me so well throughout my life that, I really want to give back to the community and help create the next, global leaders and good citizens. I think I have a diverse skill set that would really help the committee in, solving any of the problems that would come up. And, I hope you guys see that also and will vote for me on April 7th.
Thank you all very much. As Michelle did mention, and everyone's mentioned, the election will be held on April 7th in both towns from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's an annual town meeting in Wenham, which will be held on Saturday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. Do they still do the lunch?
Yes.
Okay, there will be a lunch. And I'm sorry? put on by the WVIS, yes, thank you. And then the same date for the election and the town meeting in Hamilton will be Saturday, April 2nd at 9 a.m. And I believe there's a breakfast, Sean, what time? 7:30. Selectman Sean Farrell and the town manager are putting on a breakfast for everyone from 7:30 to 9 a.m. So we hope you all can attend town meeting in the high school gym. Gym? Oh, we have the meeting, I was going to say, okay. All right, high school gym, and the breakfast is in the multipurpose room, okay. So, everybody got that? If not, talk to Sean and Jen, and they'll help you out. And thank you all, and please just remember to vote on April 7th, and if you did not, if your neighbors ask you, please tell them to rewatch this on hwcam.org. Thank you all very much for your patience.
Not so bad.
I screwed up. I didn't